Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film Brothers and Sisters of the Toda family, which is a Japanese film produced in 1941 and directed by Yasujirō Ozu. It talks about an upper-class family. They are celebrating the 69th birthday of the father of the family, and they celebrate the birthday by organizing an outdoor photo shoot. Unfortunately, a short time later, the father passed away because of a heart attack. And then the eldest son notifies the family that the father acted as a guarantor of a company which went bankrupt, and for this reason the entire family had to help paying the debt. So the family had to sell almost all the property, antiquities and everything of value of the father who had just passed away. The only thing that was not sold was a house by the sea because it was really old, dilapidated, and the children concluded that it had no value. So since the house of the family had to be sold, the mother and the only daughter who wasn't married yet, the youngest one, they had to move in with the other children. So at first they lived with the family of the eldest son, but it didn't work out. They didn't get along with his wife, and there was lots of family problems. So they went to the second eldest daughter, who was already married, but she was extremely rude with her mother and sister. She even reached the point that one day she received visitors at her house. Some friends visited her, and she asked her mother and her sister to go out because she didn't want them to stay in the house while she received her friends. And she always treated her sister and mother very badly. And also the youngest daughter, she wanted to find a job so she could help with the expenses. But then one of her sisters said it was a disgrace. She shouldn't be together with those poor people. What other people would think if she found a job? What other people would think if she was a saleswoman serving other people? So the youngest daughter was seriously insulted. Another problem is that the youngest daughter, she was still single, and according to the values, to the moral values of the era, she was supposed to find a husband. And then arranged marriage, they were still common. So someone from her family, her siblings, because her mother was already very elderly, her siblings were supposed to help her to find a husband, but they did absolutely nothing for her. They didn't find a husband for her. They didn't allow her to work either. So then they tried to go to the house of another child, and then the other child had a teenage son, and then they clashed about the upbringing of the boy. So it was really chaotic. And then after a while, both mother and daughter, they realized that they couldn't live this way, and that they would move in to the old house by the sea, which was the only asset of the family which hadn't been sold. However, we can see that they both had a very poor and difficult life there, because it was an old house and they had to work a lot with manual work. It was a house away from everyone, but it was the only way out for them. Then it was the 1-year anniversary from the passing of the father. One of the sons, he was still single, and he left for China to find a job there. And then this son, he arrived just in time to the 1-year anniversary of his father. And there were some rituals. And then when this son arrived back to Japan and realized that her mother and sister were living in a dilapidated house, he was extremely insulted. He asked the other siblings why on earth the mother and sister weren't living with one of them. And of course that they had no reasonable explanation to give. They simply didn't want the mother and the sister to live with them. They saw them both as a burden. And the son was extremely insulted. He scolded the other siblings that they were not doing their share as children. How come they left their close family behind? That their mother and sister couldn't live this way, that it was his mistake to have gone to China thinking that the siblings would help the mother and sister. And then he talked to his mother and sister and asked them if they could go to China with him when they returned, so they both could relax and he could take care of them both. Then he said to his youngest sister that would try to find a good husband to her. And then there's a very funny scene in the end of the film because the sister wanted his brother to marry one of her friends. And the brother said, no, I don't like her, I don't find her nice, blah, blah, blah. But then she had already invited her friend to the household to meet her brother. And then we can see that her brother had left home and went to the beach. So he didn't need to meet the friend of his sister. It's a very nice film. You can see that in Yasujirō Ozu's films, it's not uncommon that he talks about children abandoning their parents and that it's totally wrong, that they shouldn't do that. They should take care of their parents. And it's a very touching film because the mother and the daughter, they suffered a lot in the hands of their own children and siblings, but then in the end they were rewarded because there was a more caring and attentive son. He arrived from China. He got to help his mother and sister. He took care of them personally, which was something that their selfish siblings couldn't do, but he did it. So the mother and daughter, the youngest daughter, they could live the life of poverty that they were living. And then the youngest daughter, she would supposedly get married, which was something very socially desirable at the time. And the other siblings who rejected the mother and their sister, they had nothing to say because they couldn't justify their acts. They saw them as a burden, even though they tried to help with the housework, even though the mother and the sister tried to do whatever they could so they wouldn't disturb anyone, but they simply didn't want to accept. So fortunately, they had at least one son who could take care of them. And it's sad to see how the passing of the father, it was destabilizing to the entire family, not only financially but also emotionally. He was a strong presence in the household. It was a happy, traditional family, but at least the film had a happy ending somehow, with a good message that it's totally wrong to treat your family, your own flesh and blood, this way. And as usual in Ozu's films, the pace is very relaxing and it's slow, delicate. It offers a wonderful glimpse of family life in Japan in the era. So I really recommend you to watch this film. It's beautiful, it's delicate, and you're going to love that. That's all for now, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you!